Hey everybody, Harold here. Another video in my series on Polars data frames in Python. Today we're going to talk about pivoting and unpivoting data frames. So I'm going to import Polars SPL and rich import print. I'm in my Colab notebook. I'll publish this in my GitHub repo and leave a link in the description of this video. The key idea here is long format is what we call tidy. It's good for analysis. Wide format, we pivoted out. It's better for comparisons, dashboards, leaderboards, etc. If you tidy data, it's defined as each variable forms a column and each observation forms a row. So down here, date is a variable that forms a column, and each date is the first observation in a row. The product would be the second observation in the row, and so on and so forth. So let's run this cell and print our original data in long format. So here we have a date, product, region, quantity sold, and total revenue in long format. A 9-row, 5-column Polars data frame. Now, the basic structure of the pivot table, uh, syntax, df.pivot. On is column to pivot. Those values become your new column headers. Index equals row identifier. Those columns that define each row. Values equals the value column. So those are values to aggregate in the pivot, the values in the table. And then you can apply an aggregate function. Here we use sum. So on is column, those unique values become columns. Index defines rows, values go in the values, and aggregate is how to combine them. You can choose from the following built-in aggregate functions: first, last, sum, min, max, mean, median, and len. The key insight is pivoting polars transforms long format data to wide, optionally aggregating duplicate entries using a specified function. So let me show you sum aggregation. So pivot sum, we're going to sum revenue by region and product. So pivot sum equals sales.pivot. On equals product. We're going to pivot on product. Our index is going to be date. Our values will be the revenue for each product, and we're going to sum it and print pivot with sum and show the table. So it pivoted around. Up here we have date, product, region, quantity, revenue. Now we have date and each product with their revenue for that date. So we pivoted. And we have date and the sum of total revenue for widget, gadget, and doohickey on that date. You can do mean. So pivot mean, we want to average quantity by region and product. So pivot mean would be sales pivot on product. So we want product as our column headers, region as our index, values would be quantity sold, and we're going to do mean or average. So then we'll print pivot with mean and pivot mean. Now we have a region east-west, the mean quantity for east for widgets was 11, 15.5 for gadget, 22.0 for doohickey. So you Now we've pivoted using the mean aggregation. I'm going to do a couple more. Let's do max and min. So pivot min, minimum revenue by date and product. So we want to pivot on product again. Use date as our index column. The values be the revenue on that date. And we want to find the minimum revenue on that date. So pivot with min, print pivot min. So the minimum revenue for widget on the first was 100, on the second was 120, and on the third was 140. And let's say max quantity by region product. I hope you're getting the idea here. Product will be the columns, region will be the index column, values will be quantity sold, and we find the max sold on that for that region. So east, the max widgets was 12, gadget max widgets was 16, and doohickey max widgets was 22. You can do median aggregation. And we do median revenue by product and region. Pivot median. We want to pivot on product. Our index column will be region. The values will be revenue. And we want the median revenue. So median revenue for widget in the east was 110, so on and so forth. You can pivot on more than one index. So pivot on multiple indices. We call that multi-pivot. We want to pivot on product again. Here on the index, you pass it a list of columns instead of just a column. So we'll have 2 index columns. You'll see how it breaks down. The values would be the revenue, and the ag function is sum. So pivot with multiple indices. Now we have date for each one, but we also have for each region. So we've pivoted. We have a date index, a region index for each, and the revenue on that day for each product. So that's how you do it with multiple indices. Uh, the last thing is unpivot. They used to call it melt. They call it unpivot now. So if I wanted to unpivot, uh, I'm just going to unpivot pivot sum. I'm going to say on, and then I got to give it a list of the column names. I want to unpivot to. I want to give it a data index. The variable I'm doing is product, and the value name is revenue, and then we print unpivoted. Let's see what that does. So now we're back to long format, tidy data. So that is pivot and unpivot in polars. Try these out on your own. Switch the arguments up. See what you get. There's a lot of different things you can do with this. Some of the other aggregations. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.